This is the Sunday Business Page with Jon Delano.
Good morning, I'm Jon Delano. Welcome to another edition of the Sunday Business Page. And our very, very special guest this morning is Governor Josh Shapiro, who just last week signed a budget for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Governor, it's so good to be with you. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Jon. Thanks.
So let me just ask you first, your reaction to getting this budget, maybe 2 weeks late, but still a budget for the coming year.
Yeah, look, I'm the only governor in the entire country with a divided legislature, a Senate led by Republicans, a House led by Democrats. And in these hyper-polarized times, we proved that right here in Pennsylvania, we could come together, bring people together around common sense solutions to pass a great budget for Pennsylvania, a budget that cuts taxes, invests in public education, invests in public safety, invests in economic development, and Jon, that also solves problems that have existed in our state for years and years and years that politicians in the past ignored. So we all came together, we put aside our differences, we worked honestly and forthrightly, and the people of Pennsylvania are better off as a result.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have time to go into every one of the details of that budget, but I did want to ask you for kind of an overview. You talk about tax cuts. I know there are tax credits for seniors, for childcare, I believe interest on student loans. These are things that we need, I suspect, from your perspective. Is it more than what we've had? We've had some of these things in the past.
We expanded tax cuts for families, as you noted. We also passed a major tax cut for startup businesses to allow them to write off some of their losses and keep going, keep hiring people, keep innovating. We think that's critical. We cut business taxes, which is going to help our employees. And remember, this is building on the historic tax cuts we passed last year for our seniors and for families with kids in childcare. We managed to both make critical investments and cut taxes at the same time. And look, that's what the people of Western Pennsylvania want us to do. Common sense things that are going to put more money back in their pocket and also address the three things that I think are really critical to most folks, whether in Western Pennsylvania or anywhere else. And that is investing in schools, because everybody wants their kids to get a great education, safer communities, and economic opportunity. We did all of those things in this budget, despite the fact that we're the only state in the nation with a divided government. We moved the ball down the field. We made progress, and that's something we should all celebrate.
Let me ask you about first education, because on that level, you do have a major increase in education funding, but you're not quite meeting the requirements, are you, yet, of the Commonwealth Court's decision?
Well, I think we are, and let me explain. I think the sort of top line is that we invested $1.1 billion in new funding for our public schools all across Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh School District is going to see about a $9 million increase year over year. That's a big deal, but lost, I think, in just looking at the numbers is one of the key issues, and that is that we are now, for the first time ever, using a formula that drives the dollars out to the school districts that absolutely need it most. That's a huge reform. Remember, what the court said was that we needed to address both the amount of funding that goes into our schools and what schools those dollars get sent to. And we attacked both of those problems. Obviously, no one thought we were going to address the full nut in 1 year, but what we've now done is we've put us on a fiscally responsible path going forward to make these investments and address the mandate from the court. And I think importantly, don't lose sight of this. This was Democrats and Republicans coming together to get it done. I proposed this. I made very clear we needed to meet our constitutional mandate to our children, and Republicans and Democrats alike joined me in that effort. This was a huge down payment for our schools and for our children.
I know we're going to run out of time here, but let me ask you about another important issue for you, which is public safety. You got the funding you requested to increase the state police, is that right?
That's exactly right. Last year, I asked for funding for 400 new state troopers. We got it. This year, I came back and asked for funding for another 400 troopers. So 800 new troopers. Got that, too. There's also resources available for municipal police departments so that they can upgrade personnel, equipment, technology, you name it. But importantly, I understand, remember, I was Pennsylvania's Attorney General for 6 years. I understand that if you're going to create safer communities, you not only need more policing, but you got to invest in the community. And this budget invests tens of millions of dollars into making sure that we have community organizations on the ground, church groups, civic groups, and others who are doing the nonviolence prevention or the violence prevention work that that's out there. We have an Office of Gun Violence Prevention that is now funded in Pennsylvania, and much, much more. So we're coming at this both ways, from a law enforcement perspective and investing in those violence prevention organizations. And again, John, understand, and this is a bit of a long-term view, but I think it's an important one. If you have good schools in communities, if you've got economic opportunities in communities, that's also going to reduce violence. So we're attacking this problem head on in a multidisciplinary way. And I'm pleased that we were able to bring Republicans and Democrats alike together to meet this moment.
One new provision that I thought was interesting has to do with requiring school districts to have firearm safety individual. Now, schools are not required to have someone carry a gun, but this was part of that budget. How do you see this helping with respect to public safety?
Well, we think school resource officers can be really helpful to students and schools all across Pennsylvania. Obviously, that's a decision that is ultimately made by the local principals, superintendents, and other leaders in the community. I've seen it work in school districts across Pennsylvania. Those individuals need to be properly trained, not just with weapons, but with their engagement with students and understanding the young population there in our schools. And I think that that's a value added in school districts across Pennsylvania.
A final issue, and I'm afraid I'm only going to give you 30 seconds, but economic development is another one of your high priorities. And if I understand correctly, you did get some money to have more shovel-ready sites, both in Western Pennsylvania, I assume, and around the Commonwealth. How important is this initiative?
Pennsylvania is open for business. For the first time in 20 years, we have an economic development strategy. I've dramatically reduced the time it takes to get a permit, so businesses aren't frustrated trying to do business here. We've slashed that red tape. But in order for us to compete, I've said it, we need dollars available to entice businesses to come here and create jobs here. This budget delivers on that promise. We now have, for example, a $500 million line item just to take old dirt and communities have been left behind and turn them into pads where businesses can locate their businesses and where they can innovate and hire and generate revenue for local communities. We can now compete again when it comes to economic development, and that's going to be great for southwestern Pennsylvania.
Governor Josh Shapiro, thank you, sir, again for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for watching this edition of the Sunday Business Page. Have a great Sunday, everybody.